Hi guys, everything.
Hey guys, it's been a while since our last Know Your Operator session. We're very happy to host Stake with us today with us. Before we get started, a few updates. We've recently uploaded, or a few proposals have been uploaded to the forum, and a few of them have been sent on to be to vote on the snapshot. So please make sure to follow everything that's happening there. A lot of major decisions are taking place, and it's definitely a great time for you to participate. Today with us, we have one of our early partners in the DAO, Stake with us. Michael, it'd be great if you could introduce yourself, and then, so we can get better acquainted with who you are and what you guys do.
Yeah, sure. I first fell into the crypto rabbit hole sometime in late 2016. So like many of us, we enter as speculators. And in 2019, because we know a lot of people who hold tokens, we thought of, why not just starting a staking company ourselves to bootstrap the community around us. And this is how Stake with Us came about. I'm from a finance background, and my other founder is also a finance guy. So we actually rally a bunch of engineers and specialists to help us to build out our staking infrastructure and also a new aggregation platform called Unagi.
Awesome. Like always, by the way, we have Alon with us. Alon, it's a good time to say hi. Great. So I want to get started, if it's all right by you, Michael. Sort of like a lot of our users are always happy to hear sort of the origin story, where you guys started and what led you to being where you are today.
Recording in progress.
Yeah. So
cool. Yeah.
So I met my other founder Mervin on a Ethereum meetup locally. So we managed to hit off very well, and we were just wondering, because we have so much tokens that they are eventually coming to mainnet, and we can't find anyone to run the operations to help stake the tokens. So we gathered a bunch of engineers. We paid quite a lot of basically we learned a lot of lessons throughout the years trying to set up the right infrastructure to run the secure staking services, and eventually it got us to where we are today, running more than 100 plus nodes across 20 plus networks. So I think it's been a very humbling experience, and I think the community within the crypto space is it's a very curious community, and it's where all the smartest people are. So that's why we are staying in the industry.
That's a good answer. I mean, since you guys come from financial background, it'd be great to hear a little bit about, what the difficulties or the technological challenges that the financial guys, are facing with the staking space.
Yeah. So I think initially it was really a challenge to even to run simple things like Dockers and just to get the count nodes sync up to the network. It was only until we got in a already experienced network engineer who helped us to build out the infrastructure. And I think the turning point for us was when we asked the community for help. So even though we are sort of like a professional validator on many networks, we are not afraid to ask for help from other fellow validators. I think all the validators in whichever community, they are all very helpful to a certain extent. So usually they will share with you the tech stack. They will share with you the things that you should do or should not do to make sure that you have good uptime. And I think this is what makes us strong. We are not afraid to ask questions.
Mm-hmm. What kind of, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of questions or help are you looking to get from the community?
So I think back in those days, right, when simple things like connecting, using certain kind of like WireGuard services to try to do handshake service between nodes. These are things that we don't even know. So we initially, when we first started running nodes, we connected our peers through the public internet. So and it was really bad experience. So I think for now we have built out a team of really experienced engineers to run all these services, and I think what we really need from the community, is really the vote of confidence when to delegate their stake to us, regardless of whichever network they are on. it means a lot, especially coming from a finance background. We don't really have this kind of like opportunity, to dive deep into the tech stack until we had our engineers in place recently.
Makes sense. I'm always curious to know, because obviously we focus primarily on Ethereum. That's what we do. We're the Ethereum guys from that perspective. But when you approach this staking question from a financial perspective, I always wanted to know, what are the thoughts, in terms of difficulty of implementation or difficulty of running a node versus the rewards that you end up getting from set, validator, set node, whatever operation you decide going down. So could you explain a little bit how that thought process looks like for you guys?
I think basically for us, right, running a staking service is sort of like a leverage bet on the whole proof of stake industry, because end of the day, your P&L really depends on the price performance of a token. But for us, right, as a team, speaking from a team's perspective, I think it's more than just the underlying P&L that matters. Participating in Genesis, the kind of excitement you get when you see the blocks going, the kind of excitement you get when you see your engineers getting things right. I think that's something that's really very priceless. So I think for us, our mission has certainly took a really big change after these few years. Initially, it was more about, let's do this service, let's try to run it as a leverage bet on staking tokens. But after a while, you realize that it's not just about the money. It's really more about trying to help to bootstrap nodes for new networks, promising networks, and networks that you think can change the future. There's a lot of interesting networks upcoming, especially within the Ethereum and Cosmos space. A lot of protocols launching, and I think that's where the future is.
Who do you guys have your eyes set on?
I wouldn't say we are maximalists, but we are very bullish on both the Ethereum and Tendermint ecosystem, because I think they are, unlike a lot of other networks, right? They are using entirely different ways of scaling. So the way Tendermint scales is chain on chain, application specific chains. Whereas for ETH, you have a lot of things like rollups, you have L2s, you have side chains. So they are in a way very complementary to each other. So I think our bet is on EVM specific chains and also Tendermint application specific chains itself.
Mm-hmm. Great. So I'm going to ask you a lot more questions about specific Ethereum questions or specific roadmap questions later, but I think it'll be a great opportunity to, by the way, congratulations on the recent announcement of Unagi. I looked through it, looks incredible. I think it would be a great opportunity to explain a little bit what it is and why you guys, went through all this trouble to launch it.
Yeah. So initially when we were just doing staking, right, we realized that there's a lot of newcomers who come into the space who don't really understand staking, and it's easier to pitch them a story that you are earning interest on tokens that might have or might not have value. So when DeFi sort of exploded in, I think last year, we try to build a platform that allows users to have a one-stop shop to aggregate their use. And technically, if you think about it, stablecoin use are also used in which is very similar to staking use, right? It's just that it's backed by a different native asset. So, and I think the inclusion of a stablecoin based product into our product line, it gives a lot of newcomers more confidence in trying out the product. Like if you ask them to put money into something that's more volatile in pricing, they might not be so willing. But when you tell them, look, this stablecoin is backed by $1 in the bank, for example, USDC, you can put it into our vault, which helps you to automate a using experience on Ethereum based strategies. That's something that's easier to get them to get their hands dirty in the industry first before moving on to something else more degenerate. Yeah.
Something a little riskier.
What would you say the percentage of crypto holders that do staking today? like from from everyone who holds, let's say, the major coins, who are, what percentage are doing staking today?
When you say staking, do you consider DeFi, like DeFi as part of staking, or is it?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I mean, putting collateral at MakerDAO or Uniswap or Aave and so on. Yeah.
I think okay, I can't really give a good. This is what I think, right? I think more than 75% at least, because everyone is all about, now everyone is all about productive assets, like how can I put my assets to yield more assets? So I think especially the friends around me are always putting a lot of their assets into different yield farms, in staking into networks, providing liquidity on different kind of AMMs. So there's a lot of things to do, right, with your assets, and that's where the fun part comes, right? So especially when you claim the rewards.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. That was a great estimate. So you're saying 1 of 3 in the space is currently either staking or engaged in some sort of yield farming / DeFi solution. That's aggressive. If the market grows, let's say the market cap grows and that percentage stays the same, we should expect, according to that logic, a lot more people to look for the bridge between staking and other services. So that makes sense. I have a question for you. So we've spoken a lot about Ethereum staking. Obviously, if you go through your announcements online, what you guys published, it's all about the next big thing is going to be Ethereum for a handful of reasons. All obviously right down my alley, very justifiable, makes complete sense. I'm just wondering, why don't you guys offer it at the moment? What's limiting you guys from engaging with ETH staking full on at the time, for the time being?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I think we actually on the test nets for ETH staking even before the deposit contract was up. We were playing around testnet. We're running like, I think, a few hundred validators on the testnet. What really got us thinking whether we should offer it right at the start was the issue of trying to help handling keys for the customers. For us, even though we have reasonable sort of like expectation that the company will continue to operate throughout the whole ETH 1 to ETH 2 cycle, we didn't want to have the issue of managing the keys custodially, and then when one day, if say the company shuts down and we have no ways to pass on the validators to someone else. So that was in the past, before SSV came about.
Yeah.
and I think our consensus was internally we wanted to run ETH2 validators for public only after the two-way bridge has been established, and there's a way for the validation key to be passed on to other people. But I think right now the infra team is looking into offering ETH 2.0 staking. We're looking at ways of how we can simplify the UI UX to make it easier for people to onboard. Yeah.
So down the line, I mean, maybe I might be jumping ahead in the presentation, but what kind of issue exactly would how are you planning to use SSV as the solution for the management of the keys issue internally? It's a different use case to usually the standard use cases that we see.
I mean, SSV network is basically sort of like it's a KMS service, right? So if we have a way to utilize SSV to handle the management of the keys itself, technically we can just run the operations as per normal and use the network to decentralize the key management service. So even if, for example, we sort of stop operating the ETH2 validators, at least we know that at least the stakers know that the funds are not lost, right? They might not be earning money on earning yield on the ETH, but at least the funds are not lost.
So it's primarily security.
Yeah, and also because I think our thesis of when we build a company, we have always gathered around this thesis of not trying to build everything in a non-custodial manner. We try not to hold custody of anything from our client perspective, because I think especially in Singapore, it might be a bit of a regulatory issue in the future.
Not
That's
only
actually
regulatory.
a good point. We haven't seen any I guess we haven't seen. I'm not sure if I'm completely up to date, but maybe we did, but I don't think we saw a staking service shutting down or went out of business. But that would definitely pose a lot of issues, especially with services where they're very centralized, but they're also a pool. Like the probability you can actually divide the assets is almost zero. So that's a really, really good point. Luckily, we haven't seen that, I think, as a community, but that's definitely a risk.
Yeah.
It's also, by the way, a risk for Ethereum itself. I mean, we saw examples where even small services which hold maybe 1 or 2% of the stake went down just for a few hours, and it caused a lot of issues with the network. Not a lot of issues, but missed blocks and so on. So it's kind of slowed down the network. And so yeah, I wouldn't want to be in a situation where we see a large staking service just going out of business and basically stops doing what it does.
Yeah. I'm also wondering, from your perspective, since you guys, are running so many different nodes with the same intent of, keeping that non-custodial ship in mind and keeping all those the rules of engagement that you mentioned right now. I'm also wondering, from your perspective, from the technological side, how's it been like to engage with Ethereum or wait for the engagement with Ethereum, all the while you guys are already running those from other services and making rewards and yields and bridging it on the Unagi. So I'm wondering, besides being in the Genesis block, on the ground when it's happening, what else do you guys envision for ETH2?
I think the biggest question everyone has is, when ETH2 launches, which applications will migrate first? Because I think the composability within the Ethereum space, I think, is probably the most important factor of why ETH has a lot of dApps on ETH has a lot of value, because your assets can be sitting in compound pool and also in the curve pool at the same time through wire, that kind of thing. It's something that's not possible in the real world, right? So when dApps on ETH1 needs to shift to ETH2, I think the biggest barrier and the biggest question people always ask is, which dApps are gonna move over first, and then what will happen to existing dApps on ETH1? And this is something I think we ourselves we can't really predict. But I think if you look at how cross-chain products has been built so far, for example on Kyber, and they basically just have a separate deployment on each chain, and I believe they will just view ETH2 as a new chain and deploy over there to try to get a head start over the competitors.
Are you referring to the merge or actual sharding? Because the merge will be hopefully still seamless for everyone. Just swapping.
Not about the merge, but about when it comes to sharding. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's still, I guess, a few years away.
Yeah.
I got it. I'm going to ask you the question I ask everyone. It's sort of the $1 million question. The merge hopefully is, I don't want to say right around the corner, but is approaching. Where do you see this? Yeah, fingers crossed. We've been in this for long enough to know that nothing is guaranteed. But what do you think, or what do you guys believe is going to happen in the ETH space right after the merge?
Well, to be honest, I haven't thought about it. What is gonna happen? I think ETH is gonna pump for sure. From a dApp perspective and I can't really tell. Yeah, but I'm quite sure ETH is gonna pump.
Yeah, let's hope so. Again, not an investment advice. If anyone's watching this, we're not saying anything. Ethereum is a great technological project. Yeah, cough. Yeah. All right. I wanted to talk a little bit about your involvement in the DAO. Explain a little bit the rationale behind why you guys decided to participate or become members of the SSV DAO, and sort of what are you hoping, or what kind of decisions, directions, guidelines are you hoping to set or help set for the rest of the community?
Yeah, so I guess the reason why we also excited to join the DAO is really because number one, we think that it's essential to have KMS on to manage keys, right, for the validators, because it sort of it pushes up the overall, I would say, security benchmark for the whole ETH 2.0 staking industry. I think it's a product really needed by the community, so that we don't have like incidents of people losing their keys and then not getting the ETH anymore, and it'll get more painful as time goes by, right? When ETH become more and more expensive. So that's the main rationale. So the second rationale was because as a staking provider, that hasn't offered ETH 2.0, particularly because of this key management problem. We think that being part of a DAO and also using this as a product, SSV as a product for ourselves, is something that we have very strong incentives aligned, basically, and we will definitely try to do what is in the best interest of SSV and ETH 2.0. So I think in future DAO votes, we will definitely vote heavily more towards things that will benefit the SSV network as a whole. So I think a lot of if you look at the state of DeFi right now, I think there's a lot of needless token printing going on to basically they're just trying to front load incentives to get people come in for a very limited period of time. I think for us, when we vote on issues pertaining to emissions, pertaining to token issuance and stuff to bootstrap, the usage of the network, we'll try to vote on things that are more long term, like vote on plans that are more long term. Yeah.
Could you give us an example of something that you would consider a long-term positive plan for the SSV network?
Let me think.
By the way, do you guys participate in other DAOs as well? If I forgot to ask.
We participate in. I mean, for the Ethereum networks, they have their own governance structures, right? So we do from time to time vote on issues and voice our own opinions. Mm-hmm. So especially on things that are more, I would say, financial related, because that's where it really hits the token holders, right? So I think we are a bit more vocal on that. Yeah. In terms of something more long term, I think at the moment I can't really come up with anything. But basically, I think we are more likely to vote a yes on things that helps the network from a long term basis compared to something that bootstrap for a short term basis. Yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, one of the things that we were hoping to achieve is to get a diversified, DAO membership with a lot of different backgrounds, whether it is technological from people that are running clients or whether it is financial for people just like you guys that come from a financial background. You need to encompass a 360 view or sort of touch on both just like you mentioned, the security or the technological advantages that come with with SSV implementation. But just as important is the incentivization mechanism and the financial aspect that goes on behind the scenes. So again, moving forward, just like I mentioned at the beginning of the call, you guys are more than welcome to check the DAO, read the proposals, go over whatever's happening there. A lot of smart people, just like the guys from Stake with us, will be commenting, mentioning there. So it's a great opportunity to help everyone get involved, not just big players. All right. So for the last parts of the call, what I usually do is an open-ended question that is from you addressed to the community members to give sort of like the elevator pitch or explain why they should come and choose to stake with you guys. Again, we're assuming after the ETH is implemented, SSV is in place, everything is running smoothly. Why stake with us?
Well, because our name says so. No. No. I guess the main thing for us, I think, is really when to have stakers who are having some kind of ideology as us. So when we vote on things, I think every single DAO operator or every single node operator within SSV, they probably have good intentions to try to grow a network. So it really doesn't matter who you stick to, but what's important is you you must make a decision on when it comes to voting rationale. So only choose us if you think that what we are saying, right, what we're suggesting, or what we rebutting about is really makes sense and is for the benefit of the network. So you might not necessarily need to vote for us or delegate to us, but always try to vote in the interest of the network. Yeah.
You know what? I've asked the same question. I think it's been like 11 or 10 operators, and this is the first time someone has answered with do what's best for the community, do what's best for the ecosystem. So that's a great approach. I found myself in quite a few situations. We just came back from Lisbon for an event. So a lot of the conversation was around, us staking providers versus the centralized staking providers or the custodial solutions. It's not a question of this solution is slightly, better configured than this solution or has a nicer brand to it or more reputation, but it's us against, a non-decentralized Ethereum network. So I really appreciate that answer. Right. So if you guys have any final remarks, this would be a great opportunity. Again, it's funny we should have the call today because the funds that were sent by Stake With Us were officially received by the DAO. So very, very happy to have you guys involved. Very, very happy to have the financial or finance guys with your kind of expertise in the network. It's definitely going to be put into great use down the line as the incentivization programs start rolling out. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for attending.